to Guitar Books, the podcast. This is episode 19. My name is Joe McMurray. Today I'm going to be reviewing Travis Style Guitar from Scratch by Bruce Emery. I love this book. It's an amazing method book for learning how to play solo fingerstyle guitar using an alternating bass line, which is also known as a Travis bass line. You will not be learning how to play Travis style picking patterns that you would use to accompany your voice. You'll actually be playing full arrangements with a melody on top and this alternating bass line below. Before I get any deeper into this book, I do want to make sure that you know about my book. It's called Arranging for Fingerstyle Guitar. This is a book that I wrote where I show you how to arrange a very simple melody in hundreds of different ways, all within the umbrella of fingerstyle guitar. Not just Travis style like this book, but utilizing arpeggiation and percussive elements and reharmonization and lots of different techniques, arrangement techniques. So that's available. You can check it out. The link to the book is in the show notes below. Also, if you haven't heard my music, please check out my music on the streaming services. My latest album is Pins on the Map, which is it's full of fingerstyle guitar. It's got some fingerstyle ukulele and a piano track. So please check that out. I'm really proud of that album. So back to this book. So this is a gem of a book. I have gone through a lot of books. Clearly, I like books. Now, I do think it's really important to learn from multiple different sources. I think that it's incredibly important to learn from a teacher, whether in person or through video lessons. I think that YouTube videos and online video courses are very useful and valuable. I think that books are extremely valuable. I think it's dangerous to learn only from YouTube. I know you can see this video on YouTube now, but you end up with kind of a spotty knowledge if you learn only from YouTube. What's nice about books or video courses or learning from a teacher is that you tend to get you get a full course. You learn things in the correct order. Anyway, so I think it's important to utilize all the resources out there. Now, I love books. I love everything, but I do love books, and I really like this book. It's really, really great for complete beginner fingerstyle guitar students through intermediate fingerstyle guitar students. You know, if you can play any open chords, your campfire chords, your cowboy chords, whatever you want to call them, and you want to get into fingerstyle guitar, this is a great starting point. Obviously, it is all focused on Travis style guitar, Travis style alternating bass lines, but there's nothing wrong with that. If you learn this style, you can learn the other styles too, either from another source or you can learn it at the same time through another source, or you can learn it following this book. But yeah, this is a really, really nice book. The material progresses very logically. The exercises build very gradually, and there's a lot of them, so you get a lot of physical practice. And then those exercises lead really nicely into the performance tunes. Performance tunes are old classics like Oh Susanna and House of the Rising Sun and Jingle Bells. You're not going to find any pop songs. But if you go through this book, you can then reach out to or use other resources to find pop songs if that's what you're looking for. This will give you a great foundation to play anything. Also, the writer Bruce Emery is really funny. His writing is not dry, so when you're going through this, it's just pleasant to have his humor infused into the descriptions. He's kind of self-deprecating and cracks jokes. It's like I reviewed his other book. It's called Fingerstyle Guitar from Scratch. I think that was episode 6. I love that book too. That one is more looks at fingerstyle guitar in general. It does approach Travis style a bit, but not nearly in the depth that this one does. But that book, he's also really funny, and I enjoyed that then, and that was a great book, and that's how I found this book. And I actually like this one better. It's more focused on the single topic, but it's just a great book. So let me go through these things in a little bit more detail. The presentation of information. So it's so effective how he does this. I do the same thing with a lot of my students, and when I have my students go through this book, It works wonderfully. So he'll take something like an A minor chord, and you'll play an alternating bass line under it, and he will place a single melody note on like the first beat of each measure. So I'll show you. He might take this A minor chord and the alternating bass line, just 2 strings from 5th string to 4th string, and he'll play this one melody note on beat 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then he might have you play half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then quarter notes. And then he might have you place the melody note only on beat 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he'll give you all these combinations, and you really build your physical skills with your fingers, and then he'll give you the performance tunes that are very approachable. They are, these older classic tunes like Oh Susanna, which may not be as exciting to some of you, but they're great tunes for learning, and they actually sound really good. The first arrangements are extremely approachable. All of the melody notes are on the downbeats. There's no syncopation. They're great for students just getting into this. And what I love is that every time he introduces a new concept, like syncopation, which is when you're playing notes on the offbeat, he will present the information, present the technical exercises, and then he will give you a new arrangement of Oh Susanna and all the other tunes, and he'll incorporate that new concept like syncopation. And so there's actually 5 arrangements of Oh Susanna, and each time it changes, it incorporates the new concept he's been teaching you about. And I love how he does this. By the end, you really have a solid understanding of how to build an arrangement, and you don't have to use the most complicated arrangement, but it's there so you know how to add in some of the more complex ideas. So I think it's wonderful. It's a lot like how I teach in my book, Arranging for Fingerstyle Guitar. But he uses, I don't know, maybe 10 tunes, and he presents them 4 or 5 times each. In my book, I use 1 tune, and I present it like hundreds of times. I guess there's a second tune towards the end. But regardless, I love how he does this. I think it's an effective method of teaching. I mentioned that there are no modern tunes in this book. Go through this book. While you're going through it, or after you go through it, you can grab something like one of the books from the Hal Leonard series, like 100 Most Popular Songs for Finger-Picking Guitar, or you can grab one of their smaller books that has lots of arrangements. There's a lot of books you could grab. Maybe I'll make a video about that at some point. You could grab a real book of some sort, and that gives you the lead sheet, like the melody and the chords, and you can build your own arrangement. There's a lot of ways to get popular tunes. This book will give you the foundation to be able to arrange any tune in the Travis style. At least any tune that's not too complicated and doesn't have super complicated chords. As I mentioned, this book only teaches you Travis style. So you're not going to be doing any arpeggiation, you're not going to be doing any modern percussive, you're not going to be incorporating any modern percussive ideas, no thumb slaps, no drumming on the guitar body, no stuff like that. This book also focuses only on the keys of G major, C major, and A minor. There are 3 pages on the keys of A major, E major, and D major with drop D tuning. You drop your low D string, your low E string, your 6th string, a whole step to D. Only 3 pages on those 3 keys. He purposefully does not want you moving up the neck yet and playing. He doesn't want you playing way up there. That's just another order of difficulty. It's just harder, and there are a lot of great songs you can play down here in first position. I think that this was a great approach to teaching this. If you want to move up the neck, don't be in any rush, but when you get through this book, you can grab the complete Chet Atkins Guitar Method from Mel Bay. That's a great book for Travis style. Mark Hansen has a great book. There are a lot of other books that you can look into that will bring you up the neck. Just remember that up the neck isn't necessarily better. It gives you an extended range and gives you some other options, but you need to get good at playing down here before you start moving up the neck. So, moving on, the audio recordings. They're available for this book. Just go to the author's website and you can download them. They sound good, and many of you I know will use them a lot. Moving on, this book, all of the musical examples are presented in tablature or tab only. There is no standard notation. I know some people, that will bother some people. I don't think that much is lost here. If anything, I enjoy reading standard notation. I play classical guitar too. I teach interested students how to read standard notation, but in this book, in his tablature, the rhythms are notated very clearly, so that's not an issue. And this really isn't a book about learning to read music. It's a book about how to play in the Travis style, and I think that the tablature gets that across very effectively. And if you were to include the standard notation, the book would probably be almost twice as long. You'd have more page turns. I see why he didn't include it. So, last thing here, I recommend using a steel string guitar or a crossover nylon guitar, so it has a thinner neck like a steel string, because you will use your thumb over the top in multiple situations in this book. I use it all the time in this book. So you can use a classical guitar, but you're just not going to be able to use your thumb over the top, and you'll have to adjust some things. So that's all my general overview. So now I'm going to jump over. I'm going to actually open up the book, and I'm going to play through some of the examples in this book for you. So as I mentioned earlier, he starts out just showing you how to play a Travis style alternating bass line on an A minor chord, and then has all these exercises where he places the melody note on different beats, gives you lots of practice, and then he has you play an alternating bass line over a G major chord with lots of exercises. Lets you play scales over that alternating bass line on a G major chord. And then you get to your first arrangement on page 15, Camptown Races. And I'm going to play O Susanna on page 16 for you. This is the simplest arrangement of O Susanna. I think this is an awesome tune, awesome arrangement of it for beginner students just getting into the style. So I'll play it for you now. And I'm going to play it 4 different times for you, so you get to hear how it builds in complexity. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. So, it sounds pretty good. As you go faster, it starts to sound a little bit more exciting, but it's a really nice arrangement. I have students that can go through the first 15 pages of the book, the technical exercises, and they're ready to play this song. And it sounds pretty good. It's satisfying. It builds up your confidence. So, moving on, he shows you how to play an alternating bass line over a C major chord, and he has some exercises, introduces Will the Circle Be Unbroken, Red River Valley. Then he has a song in the key of A minor. You already learned how to play that alternating bass line. He has a tune he wrote. It's fun. He has God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, House of the Rising Sun, and then he teaches you about syncopation. So syncopation is when you play a melody note off the beat instead of on the beat. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So this is from page 25. So here's not syncopated with the melody notes on beats 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here's syncopated early, where the melody notes come in on beat 1 and beat 2 and. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So regular, I'll play it one measure regular, one measure syncopated. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Here's syncopated late. So you have the first melody note on beat 1 and the second melody note on beat 3 and. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Here's all three together. Regular. This is not syncopated. 1, 2, 3, 4 syncopated earlier. 1 and 2 and 3. Syncopated late. 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it adds a lot. It starts to make things sound more fun and bouncy. So I'll show you. Here's some exercises, and then on page 30, he introduces the song Frere Jacques, and he goes through every possible scenario of how you could syncopate this. You get a really thorough physical practice and a thorough understanding of all the possibilities that you could employ when you're arranging this tune or just playing it. You can play it a little different every time if you feel like it, just by syncopating differently. So here's Frere Jacques with all of the melody notes on the downbeats. And then he has various syncopations, so I'll just do a few. Here's syncopating the second note of each measure. Here's syncopating the third note. Here's syncopating the fourth note. So there's a lot of different possibilities. And then he combines notes. He has some with multiple syncopations. So here's one with syncopating the second, third, fourth, and the first note of the next measure. It's a lot. This is like the all you could possibly do. So by the end of this, you'll have a great understanding of how to syncopate. So moving on. He has some other arrangements, and then here's O Susanna, second arrangement. This one utilizes syncopation. So I'm going to swing this. Instead of playing the eighth note straight, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and I'm going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So here we go. 3 and 4. Oh. 1 and 2 and 3. So it's starting to sound a lot more fun. Moving on, he introduces the triple alternating bass. So the bass lines alternate amongst 3 strings, like 5, 4, 6, 4, that kind of thing. There's some tunes, a bunch of new arrangements of the same tunes. He introduces some inner harmony notes where he's adding like kind of picking patterns, like the kind of things you would use if you were accompanying your voice. You can use some kind of inner harmony notes between the melody on top and the bass line on the bottom to kind of fill the space between your melody notes, and it thickens it up, adds some more chord tones. I'll show you what I mean here. So here's O Susanna the third time. This is on page 46. So he'll play that open G there. He just adds that in. It's easy to do. It thickens it up. So you can think of it as filler note. It's a chord tone. It's a note from the chord. Here in G major. Yeah, it's a harmony note. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. getting better and better. I like this arrangement. I think it's fun, and it's really not that hard if you've worked your way through the book to this point. So let's keep going here. Lots of arrangements of songs you've seen before, but incorporating these new ideas. And he has Ode to Joy, and he goes through this multiple times. And he introduces the idea of eighth notes for the first time. Those are notes that are like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And he has the song Joshua Fit the Battle of Jericho. Buffalo Gals, Simple Gifts. See, new songs here. And these utilized eighth notes. Then he has bass runs. So, like when the bass walks up a scale, something like when you're going from G chord to a C chord. So G to a C, you can walk from G, A, B, C, and you can add a picking pattern above that. Or you can walk back from C to G. Then he goes on to talk about slurs, which are hammer-ons and pull-offs. And then he has more arrangements. So here's the fourth arrangement of O Susanna. This is the last one I'll play for you from this book. The last one's just in a different key, but it's not really that complicated. So here's O Susanna incorporating eighth notes, bass walks, some slurs, hammer-ons, and a little bit of reharmonization where he puts a different chord underneath the melody. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. So really fun arrangement. I don't know that it's necessarily a lot better than the previous one. Some of the bass walks are really cool. It's definitely busier, so maybe you could play this through 4 or 5 times in a performance and play it a little different every time, using all of his arrangements or using your own ideas that you get from going through this book. So that's the last tune I'll play from here, but I will go through the book just a little bit more. So after that, he has more arrangements. He introduces Jingle Bells multiple times, Yankee Doodle, arranged multiple times, Battle Hymn of the Republic, the caissons go rolling along, then the 3 pages on the keys of A major, E major, and D major in drop D, and surprise tune at the end, and that's it. So Travis Style Guitar from Scratch is an awesome book for learning how to play solo fingerstyle guitar in the Travis style using an alternating bass line. Before I let you go, I do want to tell you a little bit more about my book, Arranging for Fingerstyle Guitar. This book is available as a PDF. You can buy it through the link in the show notes below. This book shows you how to take one simple melody and you'll learn to arrange it in hundreds of different ways, all within the umbrella of fingerstyle guitar. So starting off with putting a very simple bass line underneath the melody, so not a Travis alternating bass line, just like a one bass note per measure kind of thing, and building up, getting slightly more complex, and then using block chords to add some inner harmony. Then using arpeggiation, and then some about how to arrange it in the Travis style. I show you how to put the melody in the bass and add harmony on top, so on the higher notes, in the higher register. I'll show you how to arrange the melody utilizing thirds and sixths and tenths. These intervals can sound really cool. I show you how to utilize natural and artificial harmonics. I show you how to transpose into different keys, because it's super, super important to pick the best key for the song you're working on. Arranging a song in the optimal key is probably one of the most important steps, so it's good to learn how to actually transpose a song to a different key. And yeah, it's good to also just transpose it in different keys, because sometimes there are multiple keys that would work, and each of them has their upsides and downsides, a little different flavor to each key. I'll show you how to, we'll look at alternate tunings a bit. I teach alternate tunings a little different than most books do, but I think that they are really valuable. I really just go into a few different alternate tunings like drop D, dad gad, and then we'll drop that low E string down even farther, drop the fifth A string down a little bit. Then I go into a lot of detail about reharmonization. This is a topic that I really enjoy. As I've mentioned in all my book reviews, I really like reharmonization because when you're playing solo fingerstyle guitar, if you play the verse of a popular song, you don't have lyrics that are different in every verse. Okay? If you're singing it, the melody is essentially the same for each verse, but the words, the lyrics are different. When we're playing instrumentally, it just sounds like you're playing the same thing over again. So it can sound repetitive, it can sound kind of boring to your listeners. So one way to spice it up, to create some variety, is to include melodic variations, where you're changing the rhythm of the melody or you're actually changing the notes of the melody. But another way to spice it up is to change the harmony, the chords underneath the melody. And I go into a lot of detail about how to do this in my book. So please check that out. And finally, as I mentioned, I have 3 fingerstyle guitar albums available on the streaming services. My latest was Pins on the Map, but there are 2 others out there too, Riding the Wave and Acoustic Oasis. These are all fingerstyle guitar, fingerstyle ukulele. I love playing the uke. I'm actually in the process of putting out a book on fingerstyle uke, arranging for fingerstyle uke. Also, there's some piano tracks. There's one banjo track on my first album, Acoustic Oasis. So please check it out. It's free on the streaming services. You can see how I play. Especially check out Pins on the Map because it's my latest and greatest. And that's it for today. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.